Hey, what's up, class? I'm Justin, and I saw in the forums that some people were having problems both with their IDEs, with their code, with a bunch of other stuff going on. And I know our first project is due Sunday, so I thought maybe I could help out, so I hope this helps. Um, I got a little example of how to go through to get us started. If this helps you, then that's great. Cool, let me know. Give me some feedback. If not, oh well. So I broke this down into 3 steps, and I'm using a virtual machine from scratch. So this is basically going bare bones to get started. And the 3 steps are pretty simple. First, we got to get our assets. That would be Visual Studio Code. It's the IDE you've been telling, like everybody's asking me what I use. I like VSC. And then also OpenJDK by Red Hat is the Java developer kit that I use because it works with one of the extensions that I use in JDK, or excuse me, in for Visual Studio Code. So I'll walk you through that. I'll show you how it goes. I'll do the entire installation and configuration, and then I'll write an app. And then I hope this helps squash some of the questions. All right, so getting started. This is a Windows 7 fresh build in a virtual machine. We need to get 2 things off the bat. We need to get Visual Studio Code, and we need to get the Red Hat JDK. It's not completely necessary to do the Red Hat JDK, my preference, but this will at least get you going. So if you just go code.visualstudio.com or Google Visual Studio Code, you'll get this web page. And then if you Google Red Hat and JDK, you'll get this page. So let's start by clicking download. There's 3 options. The zip is a portable version, system installs it, user lets you install it, but you don't have to have authentication permissions. I always go user, it's just me. And then Red Hat, you have to create an account, but I'll link a file link to my Google Drive, so that way you don't need to create a Red Hat account if you don't want to. It's free, why not? And then a third website, this one's called Ninite. You can use it to download anything and do a quick install. Typically I do Visual Studio Code installs like this, and then I'll pick another JDK or anything else in this app list. It'll install it all at once, and you don't have to click anything, just to help you out. I've already done this, so let's skip all this, but you would just click user install 64, 32-bit respectively, and then you would click download. Let me show you the installs. So first things first, I like to do my JDK first. That would be this file. Again, I'll link it in the description. Boom, we're done. You never have to touch it again. It's in there and it's already put to your path, so you're good. Next is Visual Studio Code. Reasons I like Visual Studio Code. The support is amazing. It automatically updates. It is a live update, so you can even code and in the background it'll update. No fuss, no muss. It's super cool. I create a desktop icon. I do all this stuff, and I register the code. The only thing I would really suggest is make that added to the path, but at your pleasure. Boom, baby. Okay, so we got our JDK installed and we have Visual Studio Code. So we pretty much have everything we need to start coding, not specifically in Java, but at least we'll get us started. It's going to automatically launch Visual Studio Code when you're done. Maximize this bad boy real quick. Alright, groovy. So we got this going. The next thing I like to do when this is done is set up my workspace. So I'll show you how I do it. Everybody's feel free to do it in your own way. Get rid of this guy. I'll create a new folder. I'll just call it Code Workspace. Doesn't matter. Boom. I'll leave this guy off to the side. Solid. Alright, let's go back into code. The next thing we want to do is we want to add our extensions. Our extensions are going to give us the functionality to work with the type of code. They give us things like linting, which will automatically give us hints on the code, so we don't need to memorize everything for Java. All that other fun stuff. Debugging options, everything to make our lives easier. So, quick rundown. These tabs will fill up with files that you may have open or may not have open. This first icon is your Explorer. So if you're working within a folder, which I'll show you in a second, all of your files will show up here. This is pretty much how you'll navigate between projects and modules. If you want to search within a whole folder, you would use this icon, aptly, that looks like a magnifying glass. You don't need to worry about source control because you're not doing versioning, you don't have GitHub probably. Debug and run, maybe you might use it for this class, probably not. Extensions, you only have to use this once. We're going to click this. It's going to load a list of popular extensions. The only thing we care about is typing in Java here, and we want to find Java extension pack, this guy right here. This actually is 5 different extensions in one, and this is the reason why I went with the Red Hat JDK, because one of them has a prerequisite for the Red Hat JDK as opposed to one of the open JDKs, and it's pretty kick-ass. So click, takes a second, you see it installs them all at once. You don't even have to get out of Visual Studio Code, and then like in a second it's done. 5 seconds later it's done. Okay, it's going to load up some other stuff, and at this point we could literally just close down Visual Studio Code real quick, and I'll show you how I get into my projects. Okay, boom. So we got Visual Studio Code installed, we got our Java development kit installed, we've got our extensions installed, and we've got a folder that's going to be our workspace for this really quick project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on this guy, and you'll see we've got a new icon, Open with Code. When you install Visual Studio Code and you give it the file menu context, you'll be able to do that. Now when you do that, the folder will be the context for your IDE environment. That means whatever you're doing is going to be specific to that folder, which means I can right click here, or I can click new file and I can type in test.java, and it's like I'm specifically looking at a package, and that package is really just that folder. So let's kick some code real quick, and we'll test this guy. We're going to test our environment, and we're going to test some of the tools we just installed, and I'll show you how cool this could be. If you get this, you can just close out of it. It's asking about specific path names for this project, which you don't need to worry about for this class. Alright, so let's knock something out real quick. What am I going to do? Alright, so I'm going to start a new public class. That class needs to be named whatever your Java file is called. In this scenario, I called it test.java, so boom, that's the name of this class. I'm also going to create a main method, because the main is the entry point for which your programs begin. And we won't go through any of this stuff at the moment, but all you need to know is a method is basically described by being a specific name. In this case, main is the starter for that, and then having parentheses. Parentheses take what's called arguments. In this case, what we're looking at is string. These brackets, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but essentially this is an array. And we don't need to get into that right now, but I'm sure we'll be reaching that pretty soon in this class. And then curly braces. The classes start and end with curly braces, and you're going to see any block of code, like a method or a function, starts and ends with curly braces. As long as you're typing within those, you're good. First thing that's popping up that you should notice, it's kind of cool, is you've already got this little option right here. It's not in your code, but Visual Studio Code puts it there because of one of the extensions. It lets you run and debug your code. So really quickly, let me click run. I'll show you how it works. You'll get this the first time. Just say allow access. That's letting the Java development kit interface with your computer system. So this is a terminal as if I went in and I started a Java compiler. So let's put it and give it something to actually compile. Let's start with system, the system object, out, which means we're taking the system and we're trying to put something out of it. In this scenario, we're going to be printing a line, and I'll say obligatory hello world. Hello, I can't type. Alright, save it, run it, and then you'll see right here, this is our output. This is as if I actually ran the Java compiler from the desktop or from the command line, and that's what I got. So that's how you set up your IDE. If you want to go into further detail, if you want to do another session, we can talk about input and stuff like that. I'd be happy to help. But I hope this helps for those of you that haven't been able to get Eclipse working, or Ideal, I don't even know what they call it these days. I've got my preferences. I like Visual Studio Code. It's portable, it's quick, it's easy, huge community support, lots of extensions. IDEA is awesome. It's just really top heavy and package focused, which is not great to begin on. And Eclipse, I don't know, I just can't stand the interface, and it makes debugging really difficult. This is actually super cool. If you give you an example real quick, if I was trying to type like system out, you can see as soon as I start typing, it's giving me these linting hints. So the first thing that pops up, like it's like, pointing my screen, you can't see it. It says system, part of the Java language. If I just hit tab, it'll fill it out for me. So I can start typing OUT, like out. It's telling me it's the print stream. I can just press tab. So I mean, you basically have to type 6 characters out of that entire line, and you can get it all done. So I hope that helps, guys.